All right, today we are digging into a really profound concept from Sun Tzu's Art of War, one that completely flips conventional wisdom on its head. It's all about how to find the smartest, not always the straightest, path to victory.
So think about any competition you've ever been in, a project at work, a tough negotiation, heck, even just a board game with friends. What's the absolute hardest part? It's not always about having the most money or the best plan. Sun Tzu pinpointed a challenge that's at the core of any struggle for an edge.
And this is it. This struggle, which he called junjung, is really the heart of all competition. It's that messy, real-time fight for the best position, for perfect timing, for momentum. It's the moment your perfect plan smacks right into reality. And get this, we're not even talking about the battle itself yet. Nope. This is the critical phase before the first arrow flies. It all starts after the plans are made, the troops are gathered, and you're on the march. This is where everything is uncertain, and one tiny misstep can spell total disaster. This is where the genius of Sun Tzu just blows me away. His answer isn't about brute force or just being faster. It's a beautiful paradox, a piece of strategic wisdom that shows you a much, much deeper truth about how competition actually works. Okay, let's really dive into this. This is the core strategy, known as Yuji-Chi-Ji-Ki, which you can think of as the plan of the winding and the straight. It's a brilliant two-part principle for totally outthinking your opponent when it counts the most. First up, let's tackle that kind of mind-bending idea of turning a long, winding path into the most direct route to success. I mean, how is that even possible, right? So look at how this just completely reframes the choice. The direct path, the one that looks fastest, is so often a trap. Now today, that trap might not be a literal ambush, but it could be a competitor suddenly dropping their prices, a crazy market shift, or a fatal flaw in your project you just didn't see coming. The winding path, yeah, it seems slower, but it can be the real shortcut because it keeps your strength intact and, crucially, preserves the element of surprise. Okay, picture this. Instead of marching down nice, paved roads, these soldiers chose to go through thick, overgrown jungle. I mean, they had to literally hack their way through with machetes. It was slow, it was exhausting, it seems totally backward. But just look at the results. By taking that incredibly difficult path, they sidestepped every single trap the enemy had waiting for them. Ambushes, hidden mines, even poison wells. So even though it was physically brutal, this slower path was actually way faster and more effective because it avoided complete disaster. And that, right there, is a perfect illustration of Yi Wu Wei Jie, making the long way the short way. Now let's get to this second half of this principle, because this is where it gets really clever, turning a crisis, a huge disadvantage, into a winning opportunity. This is where psychology becomes your secret weapon. Every big project, military or not, is going to have moments of crisis. It's inevitable. But Sun Tzu says a true strategist doesn't just grit their teeth and endure these moments. They use them. And one of the most incredible examples of this comes from the warlord Cao Cao, way back in the late Eastern Han Dynasty. Okay, the key thing here is that Cao Cao didn't magically find water. He used the idea of it to trigger a real physical reaction in his soldiers. He took a debilitating disadvantage, crippling thirst, and turned it into the very thing that motivated his army to keep going. That is the essence of Yihuan Wei Li. Amazing. So, the engine that powers this entire strategy is a tactic called You Zhi Yi Li, which means luring with an advantage. Just like we saw with Cao Cao, it's all about presenting a tempting benefit, and it can be real or, in his case, imagined, to influence how people behave. And here is the truly brilliant part. It's a two-sided coin. You can use this to inspire your own team, just like Cao Cao did with the plums, promising some reward to get them through a tough time. Or you can use it to deceive your opponent. You dangle some small, easy prize to lure them down a long, winding road that effectively takes them out of the game. A master strategist knows exactly which side of that coin to use and when. So why does any of this ancient battlefield wisdom matter to us today? I mean, most of us aren't exactly maneuvering armies. But the fundamental principles of competition, of gaining an advantage, those are absolutely universal. So how can we actually use this stuff? Look, the battlefield has changed, but the game really hasn't. Think about a conflict at work. Marching in for a direct confrontation can feel like walking into an ambush, right? It just makes everything worse. But that circuitous route, maybe talking to a colleague over coffee instead of in a tense meeting, can disarm the whole situation. Or in business, instead of a head-on price war that bleeds everyone dry, a detour might be creating a new product in a niche your competitor is completely ignoring. You avoid their strengths to build your own. It's all about seeing that the path that seems slower is often the one that builds real, lasting success.
This right here is such a critical mindset shift. You can't just dream of a simple, straight path to victory, because your competition is actively trying to turn that path into a trap for you. You have to go in expecting this, prepared to be flexible, ready to combine the direct with the indirect. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so I should just always be sneaky and indirect? Of course not. And that's really key. Sun Tzu isn't giving us a rigid rule here. He's giving us a flexible way of thinking. Sometimes you absolutely have to face a challenge head on. The real wisdom is knowing when to charge straight ahead and when to take the scenic route. So the ultimate takeaway is this. True strategy is all about seeing beyond the obvious. It's about learning to see a setback not as a failure, but as a setup for a comeback. It's about turning your weaknesses into your motivation. And maybe most importantly, it's about understanding that the nearest way to where you want to go is not always a straight line.